Hello, we are live. We are on the air. You are with Abiola, Abrams, and Emily Tepper for class number 2 of 3 of the Project Body Love Countdown series. So I'm going to turn it over to my co-teacher, Emily Tepper. She's going to tell you all about her, and then I'm going to tell you about me, and then go into tonight's topic, which actually, wait a second, Emily, I didn't even tell them what tonight's topic is. Tonight's workshop, like I said, it's session 2 of 3 of Project Body Love Countdown series. Tonight's is about loving yourself and wanting to release unhealthy weight at the same time, which is a very taboo conversation. We'll talk about body love and body acceptance and all of that, to then say, well, you know, there are times in your life where you have weight that you want to or need to release. And so Emily and I are going to present to you 2 programs, 2 points of view, lots of overlap, but some separate ideas, and you just take what works for you, and we will continue the conversation. So, Emily, tell them about you, you glistening goddess.
Hi, everyone. I'm Emily, and I'm a manifestation coach, or it's more fun even to say a womanifestation coach. I'm also a healing artist, and I'm the founder of a company that's called Life Manifestation. You can find me at lifemanifestation.com. And what I'm really, really so passionate about is helping you find your own healing artist, helping you make your entire life the context for your artistry, and especially for your feminine arts practices. So I love helping you feel that you can get whatever you want in a way that is fun, easy, and graceful for yourself and for everyone involved. So it's a lot of feminine power practices and feminine methods. That's what I do.
Yay! You're watching this, you're in the absolutely right place and right time, because I am also feminine energy coach and self-love coach. That my site is called sacredbombshell.com, and I am the author of the juicy spiritual self-help guide, the Sacred Bombshell Handbook of Self-Love. I define a sacred bombshell as a woman who loves, honors, and cherishes herself, mind, body, and spirit. And I have some really exciting things coming for you in the new year. Like I'm like a kid in a candy store. I can't wait to be able to share this work with you, because my sole purpose on the planet, and it becomes more and more clear every day, it's multi-layered, but my main reason for being here and here is to help to inspire and to provide soul care for what I call big vision women. So these are women with a vision of how they want to, an inspired vision of how they want to affect, clean up, or inspire their corner of the world. And so I provide soul care and empowerment in order to help you to be able to do so. And this is the work that I have always done in some shape or form. And this is about, you know, you want to change the world, change your life. And there we go. And so it's exciting to have this conversation because, as I said earlier, it's somewhat taboo. In the, you know, there's a body love, self-love, body acceptance community to say, okay, you know, we're all about body love and body acceptance, and we are also talking about healthy weight loss. Emily and I are both, you know, women who are very into language and the way that we language things, and I tend to prefer the term weight release and weight loss. I will use weight loss on occasion in when I'm posting things, because it helps people to find me. So often I tag things with words that, you know, will just help to bring people who may be a part of another tribe over to opening them up to, you know, something that could be for them. And so weight release to me feels more graceful and feels a bit more elegant because it's not about loss. That who wants to lose something? If I come up to you and say, here's something, here's a program to help you lose whatever's going to come next, you're going to have a natural resistance. Like, we don't want to lose anything. And yet nature is about, ebbing and flowing. Mother Nature is showing us right now how graceful it is to just lose what you don't need and bring back something new and fresh when you do need it. And I think of our bodies in terms of, that we're a part of nature and, the cycles of nature. And so, like, there are times in our lives, maybe like when gestating a baby, you need to put on weight. And then there are times where weight is not so healthy for you and you need to let it go. And so I call my weight release program the Bliss Your Body Temple. So that's what I'm going to offer you today. I have it numbered in, 15 different, tips, bits of inspiration, sprinkles of advice, magical glitter to bliss up your body temple. I want to start by offering, I love that Emily, that something she said, I forget, but it was something in terms, and it made me think of, like, I have written down here in my trusty pad, have your cake and eat it too.
I wrote that down too. I love that. When I saw that, I was like, yes.
Yes, that, that I really want this conversation to be about, yes, you will have your cake and eat it too. And for those of you who are new to me, my sister Damali Abrams is a healing artist and visual artist. You should definitely check her out. But one of the things we've harangued my mom about over the years, and we've harangued her about a lot, is about the saying, why, you can't have your cake and eat it too. Like, we're like, well, why not? Like, that doesn't make sense. Yeah, it's your cake. You can certainly
Yeah.
And then in Guyana, we have another saying that says, you can't have cake and bake. Now, bake is a fried piece of dough, fried doughy piece of Guyanese bread that's delicious that we eat with breakfast. And it's like, the saying is, you can't have cake and bake, but they mean you can't have your cake and eat it too. And so we'd be like, well, Mommy, why not? You can certainly have cake and bake. You can have whatever. And she's like, she explains, she's like, here's where the saying comes from.
Yeah.
That you can't have cake and bake because you've taken your flour and you have to use it to make either cake or bake, but not both. And you can't have your cake and eat it too because once you've eaten it, then you don't have it. And I was like, well, Mommy, that saying comes from a place of lack. Because if we live in an abundant universe, then if you've used all the flour to bake or eat your cake, then you can certainly have some more. And so I want us to think about this body-loving practice in terms of us being, these magical, sacred bombshell goddess spirits in this abundant universe. And that's why I'm talking about how to bliss up your body temple. And so all of the tips that I offer you are going to be from that point of view of this vessel being your temple, your one and only temple. We get one in this life anyway, and how we treat it and, what may or may not come out of that. Some words for you. Hungry, craving, full, desire, satisfaction, sweetness. The ways that we approach how we eat and how we treat our bodies really reflect everything in our lives, because how you do anything is how you do everything. And as women, we are voracious creatures, but it's taboo, to say that, that we are hungry, we have hunger, we have desires, and that is scary to people. And so we live in this kind of diet deprivation culture, and we then wonder why we keep on, our bodies keep getting bigger and more unhealthy the more that we deprive and we starve them. And the reason is that because you can never get enough of what you don't really want. And so if you're trying to fill up your joy and fill up your sense of pleasure with, food that is not necessarily what you're hungry for, that sometimes, we feel like, okay, you're craving something sweet because you really need some sweetness. You need to be loved up on. You need to love up on yourself or have, someone in your life love up on you. And so, the first thing that I want to talk to us about is, feeling your feelings. Being innately in touch with yourself. That, it's an extroverted culture, American culture, you know, more than probably any other culture that I can think of off the top of my head right this minute. Might say something different tomorrow, but right now. And so, you know, all of our things, our entertainment shows, people out and about, you know, if there aren't 10 people around you, something is wrong. If there's not music playing, if you're not, you know, all of these things that are outside of ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And then we become very unconscious in the ways that we eat, in the ways that we stuff ourselves, in the ways that we numb and avoid what we are feeling. And for many of us, you know, our whole lives are kind of designed to avoid who we are and what we're feeling. For me, that has been one of the biggest pieces of the puzzle in having healthy weight release. I believe firmly, I don't believe in diets. Diets don't work, but I do believe firmly that when we, you know, align ourselves, you know, mind, body, and spirit with, you know, a happy, healthy place, whatever that means for you, that, you know, our body will usually find, you know, it's like water finds its level, our body will usually find health, whatever that means for you, you know, at this point in time and at this point for your vessel. And so learning how to feel what you are just basically feeling in the moment, rather than just taking an unconscious action, I feel like is the number one thing that you can do after this conversation if you're wanting to let go of, you know, unhealthy situations in your life. The number one thing you can do. Now, I want to just point out that when I talk about weight release, I'm not talking about charts that the doctor has that says if you're this high, you need to weigh this, or if you're this. I'm talking about if your body is in a state of unease or dis-ease, or you have pounds on your body that are not healthy for you. And I also have to add a disclaimer that, you know, this seminar is for informational purposes only. Check with your own doctor to know what's right for you or your healer, and also you're watching this and taking full responsibility for your own well-being. Okay, so I have to just point that out. And so yes, so number one, learn to feel your feelings. We'll talk about that more in detail as we go on. Number two is learn how to scan and ask your body for what you need and what you feel. Like, you know, there are times in my life, for example, where I've craved salt. And it's been because, you know, I had low blood pressure. And if you have low blood pressure and you know, your body then, you know, needs to balance itself and that sort of thing, that your body, our bodies are like miraculous, incredible beings. Like, it's like out of control how amazing we are. That learn how to be able to sit quietly with yourself and be able to scan your body, you know, from head to toe, asking each part of your body what it needs, or if everything is okay, or what is going on. You know, learn how to speak in particular to your belly, and, you know, and speak to that third chakra area that's about, you know, esteem, and be really in contact, in intimate contact with yourselves. That we know on the surface how to be surface intimate with someone else, right? I mean, that's not that hard. You can take two bodies and rub them together. But a lot of us don't even know how to be intimate with ourselves. And so when you are able to be intimate with yourself and just deepen the connection you have with your own body, then you can know, am I hungry right now? Or is something else going on? Or wait, I'm reaching for this cookie that I didn't want 10 minutes ago. Oh, I just had an argument with him, or whatever it is. Or just really be able to just ask your body, okay, well, what is going on? Your body's like, oh, I'm lacking in beans or kale or cake or whatever it is. And so just really being able to ask your body. Again, these are just bulletin pointers, and we're going to get more into them, hopefully, you know, time-wise. All right, so then another pointer that I want to share with you is, and this goes along with being able to be intimate with yourself, is the secrets, the shame, the grief, the things that you have been hiding. Become comfortable with your shadow. accept your shadow self. You know, some people call it their dark side, darker self, whatever it is that, you know, I believe in us being, you know, holistic, wholly formed, you know, full beings. So in order to get there, you have to integrate even the ugliest parts of yourself. That no one is perfect. You know, we're not perfect beings. That if you are rejecting some part of yourself, it's going to be heard. It's going to make itself heard, whether it is through, you know, you putting on weight that you don't want, or, you know, the way that you can tell what your shadow self is by the level of judgment that you have toward other people. So look at the things that you judge other people for, that you say, oh, well, I would never act like that, or I would never get angry about that, or the things that you are having a visceral and a strong reaction to. And we all have that. And learn how to deal with your shadow self in a healthy way so that that shadow doesn't have to come and deal with you.
Mm.
One of the things that is a tool that has been really helpful for me in terms of healthy weight release is using a food diary, or a self-care diary is really what it is. So I created a healthy self-care diary that's a printable diary page that journals our gratitude every day, what pleasurable moments you had during the day, and where you are emotionally, you know, during each meal or snack or, you know, drink or whatever it is that you're doing in your body. And so one of the things that you can do, because as I said, diets don't work when you're at the beginning of your journey, and to know what you're actually putting in your body is to begin to journal it and write it down. Because, you know, for some people, you may not have a sense at all of what you're putting in your mouth. You know, you may not have a sense at all of what you're putting in your body. And so you may not be able to make healthier choices if you can't first look at, you know, what are the choices that I am making right now. And so there's a link that I put, but I will also give you an additional link where you can download free that healthy diary page. If you go to tinyurl.com/free LBS diary, and LBS actually stands for Love, Body, Spirit. It's a detox program, a whole life detox program that I started at the beginning of this year, and that had a lot of, like, really, you know, however you gauge success, but a lot of very happy, I will say, participants in it. Now, something else that would be really helpful is, let me see, so much to tell you in so little time. Oh, but we're talking about expansion, so I don't think I have all the time in the world. Think about what it means to be able to eat in a clean and healthy fashion for yourself. Now, most people, when they think of clean eating, like, it scares them because they think, oh my God, like, that it goes into, again, thoughts of deprivation. And this is where, you know, knowing yourself and knowing perhaps what you're afraid of is healthy for you. That for me, for the longest time, that my biggest fear, you know, what kept me fat, frankly, for a very long time, and I'm not afraid of the fat word as it pertains to, you know, my body, and because I'm not using it to beat myself up, I'm using it to state a factor of what was going on with my body at the time. I was unhealthy. My body went into rabid food allergies in a pre-diabetic state. But what kept me in a very unhealthy place for a long time was the feeling that I didn't want to deprive myself. And, you know, I remember when, you know, even like way back when I moved away from my family, and, you know, I wasn't allowed to have sugar cereals growing up. We put just tons of sugar in the total, or cornflakes or whatever. But I remember, like, buying Fruit Loops and feeling like, okay, that was freedom. And so I equated, like, having, like, you know, all these, like, sugary foods, and, like, these, like, it's like, yeah, I'm gonna eat the Fruit Loops, you know. And so, you know, that was a story that I had created, you know, for myself around food. We all have them. We all have, you know, that it's never just about the Fruit Loops or whatever it is. You want some Fruit Loops, eat some Fruit Loops. But it's about the bigger story that we attach to them. That something that may be helpful for you, in addition to this conversation, is to just watch some of there's some really great documentaries out there. Some of them are a little bit scary. I would stay away from those, but good documentaries about what food actually is right now, and that a lot of what we consider food isn't even food. That, the wheat, for example, my dad is a big, wheat lover, big proponent of wheat. I'm allergic to wheat. And he probably is too, from things that I see happening in his body, but he believes in wheat. Like, wheat is like part of his religion. And, but the wheat he grew up with, that's not what this is. And so, even though it's not about the Fruit Loops and not about the wheat and not about whatever, it would probably be helpful for you if you just want to know what you're putting in your body temple, just to do some research and find out about that. Because, again, it's not about deprivation. You could skip the donuts and get hit by a car. So you don't want your last thought to be like, I should have had the cake. But what you want to do is come to a state of mind where it feels good to do things that are loving for yourself because you love yourself. That it feels healthy for me to have food that is healthy for my body because I love me and I love this temple, and it feels good to me. And so there's just been a shift. And there are times where it feels good to have the cake. And so then I will do that at those times. But it's just about just switching the belief system that I had that, anything other than foods that are quote unquote bad for you, that labeling of bad for you and good for you was deprivation. And so somehow I'm going to get revenge on my childhood or whatever. I don't know. There's all, by, being able to eat these things. Or in some senses, sometimes people, especially as women, we feel like we don't have control of our world or our environment. And so, but we can control our food. And so that, can take forms from eating disorders, from, binging, purging, starving, whatever. Like, okay, well, I can't control anything else, but this I can control. And it can look like anything. It looks like different things for different people. And so you want to be clear on the meanings that you are assigning to food. Be clear on the meanings that you're assigning to your behavior, and invest some time in finding systems for you that can release those belief systems. There are all kinds of healing modalities that are very helpful for belief system repatterning or release or realignment. You aligning yourself with health and juicy joy and well-being, rather than a point of view of lack, deprivation, starvation, or if you could hate yourself skinny, you would have done it. Or hate yourself curvy, or hate yourself whatever you're thinking, you would have done that already. So let's try something different. Let's try loving ourselves into where we want to be. Okay, so a couple of those healing modalities that have been very helpful for me. EFT, Emotional Freedom Technique, which I am a practitioner of, incredibly helpful. It's acupressure. I also did have acupuncture back in the day, but this is acupressure that you can do yourself, and I actually will be releasing a program in 2015 specifically around body love and EFT, using EFT, and it is the tapping that some of you have seen me do in videos, and there are different meridian points running through our bodies that we focus on the key 15, and I'll get into more detail with that on other videos. But Emotional Freedom Technique, actually, if you go to the front page of sacredbombshell.com after this conversation and you scroll down, there's a link on the front page to the EFT videos that I've done already. Affirmations, I have found to be very, very juicy, and as you probably know, that affirmations are just stating in a positive format, what a condition that you would like to attract into your life. That affirmations are also controversial because some people feel like, oh, well, why am I stating something that hasn't happened? Or with EFT, because it states where you are and moving toward where you want to be, like, okay, well, then you get terrified of words. If I say something negative, then I'm going to immediately attract that to myself, and then, negativity is going to rain down in my life. And it's, the universe doesn't move at, the same speed at which we can hate ourselves generally, thankfully. So, affirmations are very helpful. One of the, I say incorporate them in fun ways, when you're in the shower or, dancing or whatever it is, incorporate, positive words into your life, speak beauty into your skin. Every time you look at your face in the mirror, be like, wow, that chick is gorgeous. Hello, beautiful. How you doing today? Use affirmations, the power of affirming in everything that you do. That our words are literally spells. Words are spells in your mouth. And so with everything that you say and every word you cast over your life, think about it as you casting a spell. One affirmation practice that I really like to do with my coaching clients is remember when. And it's us looking back at the present moment from a future moment. And so you can do this with your body and be like, remember when I was so concerned about what I weighed and so worried about that, and I thought that I was fat, but my body was healthy and beautiful? Remember when I didn't know what the right thing to eat for my body was? Remember when I was so locked in fear that, I thought that the only way out of it was to suffer or starve myself? And so it's getting your body to say, oh, wait, you moved past that moment. Okay, I better get caught up. That, our bodies want us to live in an optimum and healthy state. That's going to be something different for each and every one of us. And so you speaking that truth into your body is really very powerful, that you have really more power than you know. You're more powerful than you can even imagine. Okay, so a couple more of these. I've lost track. I think I've given about 10 so far, but let me see. Okay, food as a meditation. That making every meal a meditation has been really helpful for me as someone who generally would eat by sitting in front of my computer and shoveling food into my mouth, or eating as I'm, on the phone, or watching TV, or taking a class, or doing whatever, as if eating was like just a secondary act. And eating is an act of self-care. And so, while you are eating, while you are nourishing this precious body temple, I mean, look at you, look at me. While you are eating and nourishing this vessel, you want to focus on what you're doing. And so, really, by making, in the Sacred Bombshell Handbook of Self-Love, I have a chocolate meditation, but you can do this with any food. And so, with your meal, like, really engage all of your senses. Smell it. What does it smell like? Listen to it. Is it making a noise? Is it crackling? What is it doing? Think about, as you have every forkful or spoonful, taste it in all the different parts of your tongue. Does it taste different on the tip of your tongue than in the back of your tongue? Oh, what's that spice? Really enjoy your food. Make it a pleasurable practice. That there is something really powerful about turning this all into pleasure. Blissipline, I call it. I have only 2 minutes left, but I want to really focus on, you making the way that you eat, the way that you move your body, an act of blissipline. And that is, using mindful eating, food as a meditation, being right there on that plate. Turn off the computer or step away from the computer, not in front of the TV, not talking to someone else, not worried about, what, whoever is doing. Really being on that plate and enjoying that meal. And what a gift you can give yourself 3 times a day, or however many times a day that you eat. Along with that, another self-care practice around food, body love, and healthy weight release that has been helpful for me is getting back in touch with the preparation of my food. That I had delivery.com on, saved to my favorites, and, the delivery men, knew me like they were my best friend. Even when I ordered groceries, I ordered it from Fresh Direct, that I had just lost contact with being in intimate contact with my food. And so I had to get used to being in a grocery store again and really touching and handling my food, really cooking for myself as an act of self-love and self-care, you know. And so if you can take care of yourself in that way, and being able to really, you know what you're putting in your body because you have prepared it for yourself as an act of love, you know, when you're preparing the food, put the energy of love and body caring into it, that is something that's really sacred. And so the last thing I'm going to say really quickly and then turn it over to Emily is, you know, walk around naked. Be fully in touch with your body. That, you know, there's a lot of shame of our bodies that goes around when people have told me that they don't feel like they should love themselves until they get skinny or until they get curvy or until they get a big butt or whatever it is that they're working toward. No, you love your body right now. And so, you know, don't be afraid to spend naked time with your body. As a prescription, go and stand and look at yourself in the mirror in a bright, bright light in every part of you. Not sucking in, not, you know, trying to cross and turn or whatever, but really looking at and really admiring everything that is there, that's sitting there for a full 30 minutes. You know, set a timer and maybe have a journal next to you or something, and really just spend time with your body and with yourself in the mirror. Write down the messages that you get, and we will be continuing this conversation. Take it away, Sacred Bombshell, Emily Tepper.
Ooh, I feel like everything was said there. So that was all encompassing. Mesmerizing. I feel like probably I just have some dovetailing to do with your stories. It's more like anecdotal. I grew up with a mom that it was the first generation in our family to go to college, and she kind of had this viewpoint that, like, because she was strong and because she was a professional, that she didn't cook, like, because she did this, that she wasn't going to do that. And she was a single mom, so I was basically raised on Snackwells and Diet Coke and Burger King. Like, that was all I ate growing up. And so it was I was well into adulthood before I learned about whole foods and the ritual of preparing my own meals and having it be a form of art in my life, which is, you know, part of why today, like, I value doing it so much. And there has been one segment in my life that I did deal directly with rapid weight gain and had to focus on weight release, and we'll get there. But most of all, I've found, like, talking about food and weight release is so juicy because it's really about, for me, boundaries and self-ownership. And usually it comes down to that for me, and with the coaching clients that like to work with me here, is that it's really about, like, learning, like, food is an amazing, amazing place. It's so intimate. It's like literally what you're putting inside your body and learning what effect it has on you. And that is so much about, your comfort saying yes to things and your comfort saying no to things, and why you say yes to things and why you say no to things. So, you know, what I found, which many women face through food, is that, like, smaller portions, I was encouraged to take in smaller portions as, you know, as a woman growing up, which, like, what's up with that? And, you know, we are taught, like, to not show our appetite publicly, or our voraciousness publicly, or our ambition publicly, because it is potentially frightening for other people. And you know, a woman in her full power and voraciousness and ambition can be kind of, like, overwhelming, and it's a lot. We're a force of nature when we're there. So, but that's no excuse. But that's, like, we're taught to hide it in that way. And then the flip side of that coin is that we're taught to take out anger or feelings of betrayal or discontent also in what we eat. So I would find that some days, you know, in my own healing journey, something that I had to move past was like, wow, today was really difficult, so I'm going to eat junky food to reflect how difficult it was. Whereas, oh, today I did a good job and I was a good entrepreneur and I helped lots of people, so today I'm going to have green juice and something healthy. Like reflecting how my day went and what I ate was something that I had to really grow through with food. And let's see. Definitely, I want to speak to Abiola's mentioning of how you do anything is how you do everything, and I want to upride so much this idea of looking for sweetness and pleasure in all areas of your life, and not just looking for it through saccharin or honey or sugar or molasses. So I do find that when my cravings speak to me, and the more I listen to my cravings, the more they teach me what it is I'm looking for. Your cravings are the gateway to understanding your desires. And our bodies speak more slowly than our mouth can, and it certainly speaks more slowly than advertising or any of the messages around us do. So it can be frightening to like really sit down and have quiet time with your body on a daily basis and ask her what she would like, what is in her pleasure, what is a yes and what is a no, and to bear witness to that without fear, without shame, without judgment. And so doing that has really, really been the key that has opened the gate to like the kingdom of my intuition, really starting with what am I going to eat for lunch today, and not making it an intellectual pursuit about like what was the hottest diet at the moment, or like what are all the other health coaches eating, or it's been like really, really just to sit down and listen to myself about what I would like. And food is medicine, and food is everything we put in our body is a medicine and is a drug. From what kind of tea we choose to I realized that starting to eat root vegetables in the luteal like last phase of my menstrual cycle completely takes away pretty much any signs of PMS I used to deal with, like very simple. And something that has worked for me is to think of what I eat like a big tossed salad. So let me just say that I am not good at lists or grids. Like that is not my thing. It is very difficult to get me to do that in any way, like use a planner. So what has been amazing for me is to think of everything that I eat like a giant tossed salad, and then to think like, what can I add to this salad that's going to make the whole thing a little bit better, kind of like a slow phase in of ingredients, whether it's like turmeric or root vegetables or quinoa or kale or whatever it is, like the slow phase in of different substances. Like, what can I add to the mix? What can I add in? Because if I even suggest deprivation to my brain, it is over. Like, I will be like eating, chips and ice cream and junk food almost immediately, because I'm so, it's in my lineage, it's in my bloodlines with my family, of being terrified of being without basic means to live. And so what I found in healing, food is such an intimate way to get to the real issues and the real places where you need to heal. So I want to, really jump on this conversation with Abiola about it never being about deprivation, because our amygdala, our reptilian brain, our old brain, is really all about survival. And if you even suggest to that part of your brain that survival might be threatened, the chance that you're going to make a more evolved choice is very small. So to, frame things in terms of pleasure research, in terms of sweetness in all areas of your life, in terms of giving and gifting to yourself, like the best ingredients possible or the right meal for you at that time, makes a huge difference, and I really always come to this place with the custom ritual design and the altar design and the self-love work I like to do, is that it's about the come from, the internal come from. So if you're eating an apple and you're saying, I'm eating this apple because I'm fat and I'm horrible and I'm not allowed to eat anything else, what I'm going to be doing at that moment is releasing cortisol. And I'm going to be drenching my cells in cortisol, which is a stress hormone. And when we are living in that low to medium grade of stress cycle, you are literally gaining weight, whether you are eating an apple or you are drinking a bottle of water, whatever you're doing, right? So it did also, eventually come to a point where it was like, I might have some chocolate, I might have some chips, I might have, even once in a while I have to confess that I do have a diet beverage, which is like so bad for you, like chemical wise, but it's just like the health regime, the regimen you don't want it to come from a place of ammunition to hate on yourself even more in perfectionism. So it's like, at the end of the day, it has to be an act of self-love no matter what you are picking up. And the food journaling and the food mapping was a really key part in my journey too, because I didn't know. I was doing what I inherited. I, went from my parents, like, we're not going to cook attitude into like a dance school where everyone prides themselves on not eating. So like I had no idea. So having the food grid down in front of me and saying like, I ate this, 30 minutes later I felt like this, was a way of having structure, and a way of feeling safe, and a way of feeling held, which are 3 requirements that I have in order to be able to feel my feelings more deeply. And until I can feel my feelings more deeply, I'm not able to pivot and make a decision. Like, it's not that women are indecisive, it's that we're not tapped into our power, because our power is our feeling self. And it's a catch-22, or it's a paradox. To tap into our power and to get to our feeling self, which is our power, we need to feel safe. And, if I go back like when I first moved to New York, actually, I was relatively unharmed, but I had a break-in attack in my apartment. And there was an attempted assault in my apartment by a stranger. And afterwards, what I did is that I joined Overeaters Anonymous, even though I had no I was not bulimic and I was not anorexic. It was that it made me feel like I was really going back to basics and getting to square one to like go to my relationship with food. And I know that I was rapidly gaining weight at that point in my life because I was afraid. I was afraid for my sexual self, or my curves, or my erotic self to be visible in any way. So I was just starting to like gain weight after that attack. And I feel like that happens to a lot of women that have been exposed to any sort of, 3 out of 5 women have been exposed to some sort of sexual assault. And the fat puts a layer between you having to deal with attention. And the 12-step program, Overeaters Anonymous, was a place where I learned, that was the first place where I learned to journal my food and write it down, and it was the first place where I was able to kind of just like settle into having some structure around my meals and my food choices. I've been through a really long path with food. Let's see, what else? I feel, yeah, we talked about the cortisol, that it's like at the end of the day.
I know we wanted to talk more about two things that would be really, if you could talk more about chakras, and then if you feel called to also talk about, I want to talk about like sacral body movement. You as a dancer know a lot about that, like if you, yeah.
So the way that I, because I love so much the feminine methods and feminine power practices, something that makes me really happy is based on this idea of like when you have a platter of food in front of you, like a fruit platter, that you don't have to take everything on the platter, and you don't have to decide to take nothing on the platter. So it's not an all or nothing situation. And just learning to have those filters and dials and bells and whistles in place so that I could feel what it was that was right for me at that moment to say yes or no to, was huge in my weight release choice, in my journey with my weight release. And I find that that happens mostly between the first, second, and third chakra. So from your root through your stomach, your core, your power center, up through your solar plexus. So it's really, giving some power and credit to the lower self for a change. It's like always a higher self thing, but we're like giving some time and space to lower self. So just like being in a store, for example, or at a market, and just feeling like putting your hands on your first, second, and third chakra, and just saying like, what would I like? What would you like, body? And just let yourself take 3 or 4 steps towards the mangoes, and then back up and kind of like toddle over to the apples and see how that feels. And to make your selections based on how you feel. I know if I hadn't gone through like an extensive period of like writing and journaling and mapping out how food made me feel, I don't know that I would have like opened up to this system as much, but I do feel that there's a lot to be experienced there, like just living from, I call it living from your twinkle lights, like living from that part of you that is nonverbal and is like, I would like beet salad tonight, and then just going with that, you know what I mean? So that is the work with the chakras. And then, with the sacrum, that's where all of our emotions live. All of our emotions are housed in our solar plexus and to a large extent in our sacrum. So I know that whenever you can bend your knees and get into some deep hip circles, just put on a song that feels really seductive and juicy to you, and it's, it might be a time where you're able to release some rage or some grief or some discomfort. We talked about this a little bit last week, just being authentic with the feelings, but taking some movement through the sacrum is a great way to move and clear feelings that you might otherwise be eating over.
Just in the chat room, we have some people who are chatting on the YouTube link.
Okay.
And on our page. Okay, so here's a question for you, Emily. Someone wants to know, Kemi Lucas would like to know, what does a typical breakfast, lunch, dinner, and snacks look like for you two in a day? Okay, so what do you typically eat in a day?
Do you want me to go first?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. I'm going to be really honest. I'm a coffee drinker, so in the morning I will have coffee, and I have definitely gone through periods of detoxing with coffee, and after many, many rounds of back and forth with being on it and off it and on it and off it, I've decided that the coffee bean is really helpful for me with mental focus and my metabolism early in the morning. And I'm really grateful for your question, Kemi, because I've found also in like the lady coach industry that sometimes people are afraid to be honest about what they eat, and I want to bring the realness back to the conversation. So lunch is usually my biggest meal of the day, and I'm not a big breakfast person, so I'll usually have like I am blessed where I get to work on my business from home, so I'll usually have like very late breakfast, very early lunch, like a lot of eggs and beans, like an omelet with a lot of vegetables in it. Um, I do personally, I eat meat and I eat some dairy. And then I'll usually have kind of a lighter dinner that is more about like sharing time with my boyfriend. That's usually more of like a check-in, how was your day, love ritual dinner. Like I feel like the late breakfast, early lunch is really like fuel for my machine so that I can work, fuel for my instrument. And in between that, I will make like a green juice or I'll make smoothies. And so I'm really not at this point in my life on like a 3 meals a day, all the food groups type of thing. I was for a long time. I think, I really believe in doing whatever works on your journey because food is the most intimate way to learn about yourself and what you're working through and what you're working with. But that's where I'm at. That's where I'm at mostly. Yeah.
So I consider myself to be what I call an 80-20 vegan. So that means I eat 80% vegan and then 20% vegetarian. And because it changes during certain seasons because I do listen to my body and what I need, and then I need different things at different times. So, for example, in the summertime, when I'm able to eat more fresh greens, I try to eat raw as much as possible, and I'm able to just eat more raw foods and, just stay that way. But as it starts to get colder, like right now, I do need more hot foods, more cooked foods. So, for example, last week I started eating eggs again after a really long time because I needed some kind of like a protein-based something warm in the morning that I wasn't getting from other foods. And so I start the day very liquid, like I'm not a breakfast person either, and so, but I realize that I do need to have something in my body in order to focus. So I'm fairly tea obsessed. I come by it honestly, like my mother has a tea cabinet, tea obsessed. So in the morning, I start off with, I drink a protein powder because I don't like to have food in my body right away, but I feel like I said I need something in order to charge the engine and get myself going. So I drink a protein powder first thing in the morning, and then I have about 3 different teas at least. I have a green tea that I usually refresh and have twice. I have a yerba mate tea, which is really good for my body. And then sometimes there are a couple of other different kinds of tea. There's a pu'er, a mint tea. Like there are different teas that I rotate among depending on what is going on in my body, because I use food and I use tea as a medicine, and so sometimes it may be I need to have a ginger tea, which for me is just boiling fresh ginger. I've made kale tea, so just trying to get to my body what it needs in the morning, which is usually, like I said, in a liquid form. I also have, in the morning, every morning I also try to have hot lemon water, which I drink throughout the day. And I find that what works for me is really, I squeeze the lemons, and then I also just plunk the lemons with the skin and everything on it in the water, and try to drink that, refresh that, the same lemons with hot water over the course of the day. Then, because I do start off like pretty liquid, like if I drink all of that at 9, then usually by 11:30 or so, then I have my first meal, which is usually something green, which it can be okra, which we eat a lot in Guyana, call it okra. I eat that a lot. Kale. and beans. Beans are my main carb staple. I'm a bean lover. I love beans. I'm obsessed with them. I can tell you all kinds of things about all different kinds of beans. So there you go, weird things you learn about people. So some kind of a green and some kind of a green and a bean. And as I said, that lately, because I felt like I've been wanting eggs, that now, you know, eggs have become that first meal, and then sometimes the green and the bean thing will come a little bit later. That I tend to eat about 5 small meals rather than the 3, and I've heard varying things about whether that's good or bad. Some people say it's not so good because it keeps sparking your blood sugar all day, but that's how I get hungry. You know, I tend to get hungry like every, 3 hours or so, and so because I have like a pretty intense work day a lot, because I'm passionate about my work and really excited about it, and so that's what my body needs. That's what I do. So usually then it's like just repeating the same like leftovers, throughout. That for me, what I find works is like there are some people who need to eat something totally different every day. For me, that what works is kind of eating a repeat of the same basic things. It just for me is a lot easier than at every meal having to go, what am I going to eat right now? And if I haven't cooked something, then thinking, well, I should order or whatever. So cooking the same thing and eating it, that works for my body. The other thing that I do, which again may or may not work for you, is that I eat six days a week, or I aspire to. Usually it's what's happening, but sometimes like this weekend it doesn't, and that's fine because that's what my body needs. But I usually try to eat 6 days a week clean, and then have a 7th day where I just eat whatever I want. And that works for me for a number of different reasons. For health reasons, I don't want to spike my blood sugar in certain ways, but I also don't want my metabolism to be like what's going on or anything like that. So that's what happens to work for me for my own particular health situations. Figure out what is right for you. And also because, like I said, I consider myself to be 80-20 vegan, and that's a rough number. Like, I don't want to get into any kind of, whoa, I've eaten 80% of this. It's not like that. It's just, that's the balance that happens to work for my body. That my family is primarily vegetarian. So for me, it's a very natural and healthy way to eat, and it's just what tends to work with my body. So that's what we eat, Kemi. All right, I'm going to check and see if there are see what other questions. Emily, if you want to start to wrap them up.
Yeah, I just want to thank everybody for hanging out with us and sending in your questions. And I have loved really getting into this topic of weight release. I feel like Abiola and I are really on the same page that it is weight is a spiritual, mental, emotional, physical experience. So we're not just this block that takes in calories and burns off calories. And there are a million zillion systems you can get into, like Ayurveda, or veganism, or the paleo diet, or whatever. But as a recovering perfectionist myself, like, I definitely know that self-love is the key, which is why it's so much, it's so gratifying to have this relationship within a self-love community. And I know that as we go along the Project Body Love journey, and we have more workshops and events in our retreat, we really want to give you like the embodied knowing truth deep in your bone marrow that, if you're coming from a self-love frame, like a real self-love frame, you can have the chocolate bar and it's okay. You can once in a while have cake for breakfast or leftover pizza for breakfast, and it's not about that, but it is about like knowing and having more breathing space and awareness and education around what's going in your body and why. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. And Emily, we will have a class or something called Have Your Cake and Eat It Too.
For
That's
sure.
a must.
Definitely.
That's and I also wrote down embody yourself.
Yeah.
So we have two quick questions that I'm going to answer also on the wrap up. That someone wants to know. Oh, Kemi was very freed, Emily, by your coffee revelation.
Good. I'm not.
Thank you, because I love coffee, and love is all in capital letters.
Yeah. Good. I'm glad I could help. I'm glad. Whoever I can help, just say like I drink coffee and I'm fine with that. Like, good. Yeah.
Yes, she was very freed by that. She felt very enthusiastic about that.
Good.
And then another question is, do we stop eating after a certain hour, for example, 7, 8 p.m. or 9 hours before you go to sleep? For me, I attempt to usually, schedule-wise, sometimes it doesn't work that way because my coaching clients are in the evening, but I attempt to be finished with eating by 7. On some nights it's 8, but I do attempt by 7. Emily, you want to answer really quickly?
I'm similar. I attempt to do that. I'm also I've gotten really good with the like making a distinction between being loving and forgiving with myself, which feels very different than I don't care and I'm just not going to care about this because I don't care about myself. So it's not that at all. It's like it's an attempt I make, and when it doesn't happen, it's fine. It's just
being easy with yourself. Be kind to yourself. And then the last quick question is, what would either of you ladies suggest for healthy snacking throughout the day that doesn't pack on the pounds if you're not a 3 meals a day kind of person? I think that's a huge question. Really quickly, I would just say baby carrots, kale chips you could make really easily. Any suggestions, snacking suggestions, Emily?
Yeah, I really like smoothies. I don't know if you have a blender available or a juice shop nearby, but you can get low glycemic smoothies, like no sweeteners added. I eat nuts a
Nuts
lot.
I eat a lot too, yes.
Nuts and cashews. Like today, even I had like frozen blueberries, Brazil nuts, and almond milk or something like that. Just like a few things together, blended, can give me like a lot. I have to get protein in there. I eat a lot of protein actually from nuts mostly. Yeah.
I do too. I eat a lot of nuts, and I'm glad that you said that, Emily, because what I do is another suggestion is I use kefir. So you could use like coconut kefir or whatever kefir you like, and and add the nuts to that, and as Emily said, maybe add blueberries or something like that, or something in with it. It's something you can make in 5 minutes. If you put chia seeds in it and put it in your refrigerator, it'll thicken and kind of make like a pudding, and so that's something delicious that you can do as well. So Emily, please tell them where to find you. I'll tell them where to find me.
Yeah, you can find me on Facebook as Emily Tepper, or you can go to lifemanifestation.com. Jump on the list there, and I will send you lots of really, really delicious treats. We have a wonderful meditation series that gets you really open to receiving everything you want once you manifest it. And a fabulous new ebook on how to manifest sensually with your sensual awareness and all of your senses. So that's over at lifemanifestation.com.
Ooh, that sounds divine. Well, you can find me at sacredbombshell.com, where all kinds of magical things are happening. You can jump on board the Project Body Love 30 Days of Body Love on social media, at the Project Body Love Tumblr, or I'm throughout social media at Abiola TV, where the TV stands for Transformation and Victory. If you subscribe to my site, you get a free self-love kit, and I am literally assembling for you self-love kits. This is juicy self-love kits that will include my affirmation cards, goddess affirmation cards, and my books, and all kinds of other like really exciting things. So I'm really excited. Join us again next week, I believe on December 1st. You can find the date in the link in the Hangout for part 3 of this conversation, where we will be talking about your body and your sacred alignment. So thank you so much for playing with us today. We look forward to continuing this conversation with you. Hi.